Hughie Fury versus Sam Sexton. In this video, I will discuss the key factors of this fight along with my own prediction. But I want you to do the same, so please jump down to the comments section below and tell me who you're picking. Are you picking Hughie Fury or are you picking Sam Sexton? And remember, please subscribe to the channel for all the big fight predictions. So we've got Hughie Fury taking on Sam Sexton at the Macron in Bolton, and this is for the British heavyweight title, and it's going to be live on Channel 5, which is a free-to-air channel here in the UK. This fight comes off a disappointing result for Hughie Fury and a disappointing performance for Hughie Fury when he attempted to emulate his cousin Tyson by picking up a world title strap when he challenged WBO champion Joseph Parker. So we've heard an announcement yesterday from Mick Hennessy where this fight was announced, and this is what he said. He said, "I'm delighted to bring the historic British Heavyweight Championship back to mainstream free-to-air television on Channel 5, where it will be seen by the biggest viewing audience possible due to their considerable reach and exposure. I can't believe that it will be nearly 7 years since the British heavyweight title was last seen on free-to-air in the UK on Channel 5, which we also promoted." Okay, so that's interesting. He is obviously bigging up the event and the fact that the British title was last competed for 7 years ago on Channel 5, and it was promoted by them. Now that fight, I believe, was actually Tyson Fury versus Derek Chisora, and I think that's the first Tyson Fury versus Derek Chisora, and it was on Channel 5 2011. But let's be real, the title hasn't been regularly competed for, you know, and it's been held, and when it has been held, it's been held by, you know, some biggish names. Now, after that Tyson Fury, Derek Chisora, no, it was owned by David Price for a few years. You know, he was probably, if my memory serves me correctly, those fights were probably on Box Nation, okay, where he beat Sam Sexton, he beat Audley Harrison, he beat Matt Skelton, okay. We then saw Tyson Fury fight for it again against Derek Chisora. Now that was on Box Nation as well, and I think, again, if my memory serves me correctly, that was the Chris Eubank Jr. Billy Joe Saunders matchup was on the same card. We then saw Dillian Whyte and Ian Lewison competing for it, which was on Sky. And then we had Sam Sexton when he picked up this strap against Gary Cornish. I'm not sure what network that was on, if it was televised at all. Okay, it may have done, but you know, it definitely wasn't on Channel 5. And we know that, you know, a lot of these Mick Hennessy promoted cards that have been on Channel 5, they've been somewhat sporadic, and whilst they probably do get quite good viewing figures, in other years they have done, I mean, they have not been heavily promoted. That is a fact. They have not been heavily promoted, particularly when he hasn't had Fury, you know, Tyson Fury, or one of these people. When he's had some of the lesser known names, I mean, they've had almost no promotion whatsoever. We're talking about promotion on the day of the fight, okay, which is ridiculous. I mean, Mick Hennessy, he's obviously desperately holding on to the Furies, but he needs to up his game, because, you know, even going onto his website, when I just checked out that statement, the website is slow and buggy, and not only that, they're still promoting the Hughie Fury Joseph Parker fight on the website. What is that all about? But anyway, you know, Hughie Fury's made a few comments, and he said that he's excited to be back facing Sexton for the British title, and believe him that he's on a mission to claim back what should have been rightfully his, you know, the world title. I am the uncrowned world champion, and come May the 12th, you will see why that is. That's what he said. But, you know, let's be real. This is a huge step back for Hughie Fury. Whatever people want to say and think about Hughie Fury, going from, you know, world title challenger to competing against a journeyman fringe British level, that is a ridiculous step back. And I'm not quite sure, you know, why we're seeing this, whether it's the incapabilities of McKenzie to really push through bigger fights with some of the other promoters. Who knows? Who knows? Okay, but anyway, you know, we look at Sam Sexton and, you know, we appreciate his limitation. I actually think that he genuinely realizes his own limitation, and, you know, we can see that from the opponents he's faced. Now, he has an okay record of 24 wins and only 3 defeats. Now, the key here is that 24 wins, only 9 KOs. That is so low for a heavyweight. I can't even begin to start talking about that. But, you know, he's had large periods of his career where he's been undefeated. He's actually been undefeated since 2012, believe it or not. But that's because he has gone into this mode of just being a house fighter, fighting on small shows against very limited opponents. I mean, fighting against Gary Cornish, where he picked up the strap, it was the first time he competed against someone who was on a winning run since he lost in 2012 against David Price, when he was knocked pretty much unconscious. Okay, you know, so we talk about the 3 defeats he's had. David Price knocked him out, and he's lost twice to Derek Chisora, both by stoppages. Now, they are his 3 best opponents in his resume, you know, by a considerable distance. You know, the next best opponent we're talking about is Martin Rogan, who he defeated twice. And, you know, Martin Rogan wasn't okay. He was rough and ready and whatever, but hardly a skillful operator. Okay, so, you know, Sam Sexton, for me, very limited and at best British level, at best. Okay, and that's just the facts. Okay, whereas Hughie Fury, again, I repeat it. Whatever you like to think about Hughie Fury, he is highly skillful, but, you know, there are a lot of caveats with him. He is raw, he is inexperienced, okay? This guy is only 23 years old, and he's been a pro for, you know, five years. He's been a pro, so his amateur experience is limited. And when you look at the resume of Hughie Fury, is had quite an unconventional approach to the opponents, whether that's by design, whether that's Peter Fury selecting specific, you know, awkward opponents, you know, or it is Hennessy's inability to get him big fights. You know, that is up for discussion. But, you know, this is going to be Hughie Fury's first attempt at a, you know, a domestic or European continental title. Okay, if you forget about, you know, he fought for a vacant WBO intercontinental title. I mean, whatever that is. But when we're talking about, you know, the usual progression for these fighters, we know domestic, pushing through Commonwealth, European, you know, getting that experience, you know, kind of competing for titles. Hughie Fury hasn't done that. He's never fought for the British title. He never fought, despite the fact of being a promising guy. I mean, maybe it wasn't his fault because it was held, you know, Anthony Joshua had it and some of these other guys had it for some periods of time. And they didn't want to make those matchups at that point. But either way, I mean, you look at the resume of Hughie Fury, and there's very limited opponents. You know, you look at people like Fred Cassie, who, you know, a reasonable kind of guy, but not someone that you're expecting to really cause you a lot of problems, or someone who's close to world level. I mean, for me, his best opponent, if you forget about, you know, obviously the Joseph Parker fight, okay, you're talking about Andre Rudenko, which he completely schooled him. It was a very clinical performance by Hughie Fury. But the rest of these guys, you know, you can't really kind of create an argument that these are great great opponents. You just can't. You know, Dominic Gwynn, Big Larry, you know, these guys, it's odd that he hasn't been put in against bigger opponents. And for me, you know, up until, you know, just say before there was even the talk about the Joseph Parker, I'd always been under the impression that, you know, because of his limited amateur background and his youth, it was a slow build. They were slowly building him, they were protecting him, and they were looking to, you know, just give him a range of decent fights to, you know, hone those skills, you know, get the experience before, you know, possibly when he gets into like the 6th and 7th year, get into these opponents. Because, you know, just like when you think about Deontay Wilder, very, very, very limited amateur experience, okay? And for me, that's why you can kind of defend the fact that he fought so many opponents before kind of getting up to kind of, we'll say fringe world level, because that's kind of, even though he's a champion, he's still kind of fringe world level. He fought for so many fights for so many years because he never really had the experience, and he had to hone those skills, you know, regardless of what you think about those skills. He had to hone those skills over years in fights, okay? And I thought that's what we're going to see with Hughie, but we haven't. We've kind of jumped from, you know, somewhat inexperienced, low-level opposition going straight into this world title fight, and then he's jumped back to kind of the level that he was at before. And when after the Joseph Parker fight, my initial reaction was that we were going to see a rematch. I thought we were going to see Hughie Fury get a rematch against Joseph Parker, but obviously, you know, they've kind of put that to the side. And, you know, they've moved forward and they've got the Anthony Joshua fight, etc., etc., okay? And then even when you consider, you think you're still Hughie Fury is he's gonna jump down to, you know, contender status, you know, fringe world level, you know, getting in there against a decent opponent to, you know, once again get another shot. But Sam Sexton, where does that lead to? If you beat Sam Sexton, where does it lead to? None of the champions are going to give you a shot. So this is almost a ridiculous and pointless opponent, in my opinion. I mean, that's just what I think, okay? You know, when we talk about the fight that's going to happen, there can only be one result, okay? Sexton is going to look to close the ring off as quickly as he can. He's going to show a lot of veteran tactics to try and make it difficult. You know, we saw that Hughie Fury against Joseph Parker, despite the talents that he's obviously got, he struggled to keep Joseph Parker off him. Joseph Parker was able to close the distance over and over again, and that's where he was landing the shots. You know, they both threw about the same amount of shots, but Parker was landing more because he was getting in close and he was landing a lot of extra shots, you know. And, you know, so he has to do a much better job of keeping his opponent off him. And the fact that he does have these skills, he should be capable of doing it. And maybe the fact that he's jumping down a level of opponent, you know, from Joseph Parker to Sam Sexton, you know, he should be able to keep him at distance. But Sam Sexton is going to try and jump him. There's no two ways about it. No two ways about it. But for me, I think Hughie Fury will win this. I think he'll win it in fairly dominant fashion. It will be a bit of a clinic, and then, as I've alluded to, I just don't know what is next for Hughie Fury. I honestly don't know. I don't know where does he then move on and fight maybe for the Commonwealth against Dave Allen and Thomas. Do we see one of those against one of those guys? I mean, it's difficult. Does he get put in against one of these young guys that are coming through? What David Hayes guy or Dubois? I mean, he's gonna get. He just can't. He needs to move forward to better opposition. And we have to wait and see what happens. This has to be a marking time fight. No two ways about it. No two ways. I'm kind of disappointed that it is at this level, but we'll have to wait and see. I think it's nice that there's a fight on free-to-air for a lot of people. They can check it out. They can watch it live. Channel 5. I think there should be more of these fights. I think Hennessy really needs to put his finger out, build a better stable, and try and get more regular fights on Channel 5, because that's his only hope of really, being a promoter of note, okay? Because, the other guys have got everything on lockdown. He needs to really pull his finger out. But that's it. That's Hughie Fury. He's fighting for the British title for the first time. He's more than likely going to pick up that strap and move forward. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you believe that Hughie Fury is going to win this? And do you think it's going to be comprehensive? Or do you think Sam Sexton is going to upset the odds and retain the strap? Let me know in the comment section below. And also, as usual, please subscribe to this channel. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you on the next video.